First of all, I got to thank my buddy Dave Repson, and he's right. If you need tips when you're going to Israel, give me a call. You might think I know everything, but I don't. I'm just going to turn around and ask my wife because she knows it all. But there's one thing I have to mention before we get going. Josh mentioned the lineage of great athletes that we've had come through the University of Illinois. NFL championships, NBA championships. But he forgot one thing. We have one two-time European championship, and that would be this guy right here. There's one of the things that I think is all of my inductees will agree with me on. None of us got here by ourselves. We may have had different paths. There may have been some ups and downs in life, but none of us got here by ourselves. And with that in mind, I truly have to go back and reflect on my life. Many of you may not know, but I grew up in Chicago. Grew up on the west side of Chicago in an area called the Village. Eddie will know this area probably pretty well. It's okay, baby. I'll get this story over quickly. But the Village was not the nicest area on the planet. Not the nicest area in the state of Illinois, nor in Chicago. Rough and tumble place where a lot of bad things happened. And this is where, when things are good, we can all find ways to be successful and to move on. But it's when things are bad and when things are rough is when you really need that extra hand and that person to bend down and pick you up. The first people to come through my life, and I have to thank them, because without them, I would not be standing here. My mother's here tonight, and I know with me mentioning her, she's going to start crying, because she always does. But Joanna Turner at that time, Thomas after that, and now Hambrick, was the guiding light in my life. My mother was not just my mother, but she was also my father, while trying to raise not just one, but 3 boys on the west side of Chicago. She was able to do this because I had 2 strong grandparents, her mother, Elnora Turner, and many of you saw when they showed when I broke the record, my grandmother, Bernice McGarry. Those 3 women helped build who I am, shape who I am as I moved on through life. And I mentioned multiple people because when I got to the next level, well, let me back up a little bit because I have to thank my brother, my older brother who's not here. He's the first person that recruited me. I was walking off of a baseball diamond when he called me over and said, hey, come play basketball with us. We need another player, so we have 10. So after we finished playing that game and we were walking home together, he told me, that's the last time you were playing baseball. Now, personally, I didn't take kind to that because I love baseball to this day. My wife knows she gets mad every time the Cubs come on because that's what the TV is. But as we walked home, my brother told me, that's the last time you're playing. And of course, we got into a big argument, almost got into a fist fight in the middle of the street. And he grabbed me and he was like, because you don't realize how good of a basketball player you are. So we got home and he convinced my mother to turn me over to what has become one of the most influential men in my life, Bob Hambrick, rest his soul, who helped take me from a young boy who knew nothing about basketball to the number 3 player in the nation when I graduated from Simeon. Made me a McDonald's All-American when I was at Simeon, a parade All-American when I was at Simeon, which turned on the lights to the great guys that took me in after that. Jimmy Collins was the first person to come into Simeon High School and notice Deon Thomas. Told me that I could come here and play at the University of Illinois and be successful. So thankful to him and to Lou Henson, because regardless of the great eyes that Coach Collins had, if Lou Henson didn't give me the opportunity to play basketball here by offering me a scholarship, I'm not at the University of Illinois. So my hat is taken off to both of those men, as well as my high school coach, because without them, I'm not standing in front of you today. But I have to thank some other guys, and I'm sure everyone in here will agree with me. You're not here unless your teammates help you get there. Coming in my freshman year, I was able to play with Andy Kaufman. Now, Andy, of course, shot most of the balls, but he did every once in a while pass me one. So I was able to end my freshman year as the all-time leading scorer for freshmen. Now, Keywan Garris came along a little bit later and broke that one, but I have to thank Andy Kaufman. I have to thank Larry Smith, who was on that team. Moving into Tom Michaels, T.J. Wheeler, Robert Smith, and I should say a big thank you for Rob Smith because he had to play all the defense while I got to shoot the ball all the time. But I say that because without those guys, I'm not standing up here. They made it possible for me to score all 2,000, I think they said 129 points. My teammates, my family were the ones that gave me the green light to be who I am, to be who I was on the court. Coach Henson, Coach Collins, Coach Nagy, and Coach Coombs gave me the tools and helped me to become a better basketball player. But what I did here is not just what defines you as a Hall of Famer. It's what you do throughout your life that makes you a Hall of Famer. Yes, I was drafted 28th, first pick in the second round, but I chose to go and play in Europe. I was a 7-time All-Star there, 2-time European champion, as you heard me mention since my illustrious AD forgot. But one of the people, and she didn't know I was going to mention her tonight, when I got to Europe and I met my wife, I didn't need the NBA anymore because I had found my soulmate. I had found a woman that so completed me that it didn't matter whether I played basketball or didn't play basketball, whether I played in Europe or whether I played in the NBA, because she became my rock, she became my partner, and I only asked her one thing. I say, will you please give me a daughter? That was it. Simple, right? But she even outdid herself on that because she gave me 2. My oldest daughter, Gabrielle, is here now carrying on the legacy as a sophomore here in animal science. My youngest, who I hope will end up coming here and continuing this legacy, but I say that to say this. Again, we don't get there by ourselves. We don't continue without others, and we definitely don't end up as Hall of Famers without everyone. And I have one last thing to say, because now since I'm on this side of the business, I understand how important the donors, the supporters, and the people that back up not just the athletic department, but the universities as a whole, and I want to say thank you to all of you. Because all of you made this possible for me and the other inductees tonight. So I'm going to close this by saying thank you, thank you, thank you, and congratulations to the inductees of the 2019 class. This is a huge, huge honor for me, as I'm sure it is for you. Thank you.